lots that are, and so we can see how many lots are still available in each of them, and how many are under construction, which ones we can issue permits on, and haven't been built yet, and things like that. And I'm going through all these individual subdivisions. We don't have a lot of lots left at all. I thought we did.
That apartment complex across from me, they are not apartments, the townhomes over there by Daniel Road.
Oh, yeah.
They've pretty much got every vacant lot there refilled in the last 6 months.
Now, have you seen any applications for the lots, the 15 or so lots in the back of Bay Springs? I think it's,
That's the one I was doing today. No one has applied yet. I asked them for.
they're not for sale anymore. And the last time I went or drove back there the other day to see, because my whole thing was is what I could do, what cooperation I can get in getting that circle finished.
Yeah.
Because the developers that started that are gone, long gone, and the 2 or 3 house builders can't afford to go in there and do the, finish the cul-de-sac. So, but when I went back there the other day, somebody had bushwhacked all of the overgrowth off of them. And then when I went in there yesterday to try to find where they were for sale or listed, I couldn't find them.
The city of Billerica has been promising me water for many, many years.
Yeah.
The last promise was 2019.
Well, it's rained since then.
It's been since then.
I'm gonna make a big jug of lemonade to bring up here for everybody to share my water.
I'm okay.
Directly out of my sink.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll drink it.
Are we on?
Yes. It's 6 o'clock.
Right. Good evening, everyone. It is November 19th, 2019, and it is now the top of the hour, 6 o'clock, and the Billerica Historical Preservation Commission is now in session. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What up, Nancy?
Okay. And thank you, Whitney, for having the agenda for all of this. Is there any?
I don't have, me neither.
Okay.
I've seen it.
Oh, was it out
Move
there?
to adopt the agenda?
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, should we wait till everyone has it?
Move to adopt the agenda?
Yes, I'll move to adopt the agenda.
Okay, and just, all in favor? Okay, unanimous.
Thank you.
Can I have one?
I saw it on the,
You saw the minutes?
yeah, I saw it on the email.
All right. So you all have seen the minutes of our last meeting, which I understand was really productive because people who were watching the streaming video afterwards sent tons of email
Thank you, Ron.
to me about how much they enjoyed it. And I think a lot of it had to do, Whitney, with your minutes because they were so thorough and giving everything in there that even a couple of the council members said they saw it later on and they were really happy to read all of that.
Good, I can't take credit for that, that was Kirsten, actually.
Well, but you were taking lots of notes too, so thank you. Okay. Move to adopt the minutes or any corrections or additions?
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Motion carried. Good. Unanimous. Okay. It doesn't look like we have any public comment, so we won't have passed that one at this point. I do, however, know that we have at least 3 people watching us tonight on streaming video. Because I just found out from Cheryl that the library board meets at the same time we do. And so she wanted to come, but they are meeting tonight, but they all wanted to come, so she checks us out after that,
Oh, okay.
which is okay. All right. Reports of committees, officers, standing committees, anything?
Not at this time.
I know that it says none, and we've got Ron's new business in here, but I do want to say that the email and the things that I gave you all last time about this,
I saw that.
and after talking with Kim, we don't see that the south side has done any real growth since the survey was done. There is nothing in there. I mean, before that, we've got a little bit of history, but as it stands right now, what was done. So right now, I'm finishing it up. again asking you for any additions that you might find to that. And then we're going to hand it all to Mr. Johnson, who will have the wonderful opportunity to put it all on the form so that we can get south side of Main Street declared a local registry.
I have an idea regarding this new mapping or remapping of older parts of town. Would it be appropriate for us as a commission, along with Ron, to do a walkthrough with a map perhaps sometime? I don't know if you would be willing to give up an hour or two on a Saturday or a Sunday, but to walk through, and I'm sure that people have got memories that would come to the fore if we were kind of strolling through town. I remember a dress shop, a Chinese place, the Cinema Tavern. It just had been decommissioned as the cinema, and the new one built where the other place, the grill is. But these are all things that I remember, and I think Monroe and maybe Kennebec would be good to request a walk through with town as well. Say, oh, I remember Susie's dress shop was here.
That might be a great idea, because what I'm getting and doing the book that we're doing are lots of memories about downtown.
Okay.
But what we do need to also add to it, according to Ernest and what we have to add, if there's anything from that initial post that would add to the history so that we can do that. But certainly, yeah, I think it's a great idea. But we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to say? All right. Any old business?
Not for me.
New business?
All right, so I have a handout for you for the rural zone. As you may know, I know it came in front of the council. It has to be maybe 2 meetings ago when Janet went up to the council and she explained a little bit about the program, just a really rough outline. But rural zone, just so you'll know, we were awarded the program along with, I want to say, maybe 9 other cities. For this year. This is a program that was started back in 2017. There's approximately 25 or so designated communities in Georgia so far between the three years. And what it would do is essentially help us economically by offering further incentives. We already offer about 5 different incentive programs through the Main Street Department, and this would be another one that would be able to give tax credits to people who would like to come in to the cities, to the designated rural zone area, which is essentially just the downtown area. But it also stretches down Bankhead to Hill Street. So Hill Street and then East Montgomery as well. So what you can see actually from our handout here that there's 3 different tax credits that are eligible for the program. So there's a job tax credit, there's an investment credit, and then there's a rehab credit. Each of them have their own caps on how much of a credit can be taken per year based on job growth and job credits. So everything is really tied to job creation. That's the whole point of this, is to get more jobs in these rural downtowns, revitalize the historic buildings. And of course, the word revitalize can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So the Historic Preservation Commission would actually play a huge role in making this program successful, because any renovations would have to go in front of the HPC, and even if they're outside of a historic preservation district or zone, like say it's the south side of the downtown is not designated yet, they still have to follow the Secretary of Interior standards for rehab. So the state is pretty serious about not having these buildings torn down, but to be rehabbed. They won't fund or won't give a tax credit to anyone that's willing to tear down a historic building. So that's a added protection. So the whole point really is to give more incentives to these rural downtowns to redevelop themselves, and even for businesses that are already existing and already here right now, they can expand as long as there's going to be some sort of job creation. It has to be 2 full-time equivalent positions. So full-time equivalent would be essentially 2 part-times would make 1 full-time, basically, as long as it adds up to 40 hours a week.
Great.
So if my business wants to expand, let's say it's let's pick I don't know, a business, Uncorked. Let's say Uncorked wants to expand. As long as they're creating 2 full-time equivalent positions, then they can take the investment credit or the job tax credit. The only thing is with this program, which is very, I guess, it's very similar to other programs where the historic tax credits, the federal tax credits can still be taken with this program, but the state tax credits, historic tax credits, cannot. You have to pick and choose which one is more valuable to your specific situation. So some people, the historic tax credits might be better for them.
That's
But
interesting.
I think it's not the magic bullet. I don't want to make it sound like this is the magic bullet that's going to fix everything, but it will go a long way in at least helping us combine this with other programs that we already have going right now, the Boost program and the Facade Improvement program, and a ton of other different programs that we have. If people can couple all those things together, then it can make things a lot more equitable for development.
Will the businesses in the downtown area be informed about this job program
Yes.
soon? I'm
We
hoping?
have it goes into effect January 1st, so we're trying to, we already had one meeting last night with the regular Main Street, their annual meeting that they always have at the end of the year. But we're going to have another one. I believe the date is December 18th. We didn't want to get too close to the holidays, but we have to do it close to the starting date. So it's going to be December 18th, but we just don't have a time yet. But it will be posted on the city's website, Facebook, all of the Main Street channels.
So I just want to clarify, is this a Main Street program or is this for downtown or?
Well, both. It's a Main Street program. They're the ones that's going to be administering it, with working with the DCA and the Department of Revenue. So it's only going to cover though a certain section of town, which is just the downtown.
Okay. I was just wondering because there's so many little businesses like up South Carroll and.
Yeah, I don't think that we, thinking back to the map, I don't think we actually went down South Carroll at all. We just went straight across on Bankhead. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's great, and congratulations for getting
Thank
this
you.
as well. Obviously.
Absolutely.
I think it'll be a big help for us and our commission as well, getting that done, because since right now our priority is to get the south side on the local registry, but then our next priority that we talked about in the past is actually expanding our historic district, and that becomes really important for us as well. So this will be a help and probably be some kind of a juxtaposition between the two, I think.
I think so. The good news is there's a lot of good news, but this is the cherry on top is there's some built-in protections here for a historic preservation commission because the city is not going to, or I'm sorry, the state's not going to accept the tax credit form in their certification application unless there's a certificate of appropriateness attached to it. So that's built into the program, it's already baked into it. And again, that's only for the areas that are in the historic district, but the areas outside of it, they still have to follow the standards that the state set.
Super.
Yep.
I would probably add, for the meeting in December, we've had really good luck with 2 of our council members advertising our meeting tomorrow night on their neighborhood sites. I have done it as well. It's been in, I think, just about every single website we can possibly do, from tourism to Main Street to Pine Mountain, even the library. So we have advertised a lot. Fortunately, we've got county commissioners even asking me about coming. Michelle says she's going to be coming as well. So I think if we can hit that 100 mark, that's a good thing. And the fact that you've got a whole month out, basically, I found that the more we advertise, the better, because remember the one we had in March, even though we didn't have any real advertisement on that, only about 2 weeks before, we still had at City Hall a good 50 or 60 people coming. So if we can have 100 people here, and we didn't have refreshments last time, this time we will. So
Perhaps you could repeat just the briefest details so that anybody listening might make sure that they know the details as well.
yeah, well, I suppose the reason is because my my feeling is that when I attend so many different city council meetings, if people stand up and complain about something, yes, they praise things too. But even with me attending all the council meetings, I don't know the inside workings. And I'm certainly at City Hall a lot, but I see all the people out there doing things. And it came to my attention, I think, that the more we really understood what was going on, the better it would be. And so I had the opportunity, again, to speak with Tom, and he agreed that, yes, we could have that. He said probably even quarterly. However, in the meantime, Chris and I have been talking about something that he's done before, and that's to have a citizen academy, like we have the police academy. And Chief Mansour mentioned to me and said, don't open it up to more than 30 people at a time, and then see how it goes. But if we had a citizen academy for 5 weeks, not the 8 weeks that the police academy does, with that citizen academy for 5 weeks, we would have each 5 weeks something going on. And we know enough people that we could do what the police academy does as far as giving free food for the first half hour. So you come at 4:30, and I've already spoken to a couple places that said, sure, we'll help. So if we did have, and that will depend on the feedback tomorrow evening, of whether they like a symposium or whether they would go for an academy, then we could go ahead and have food for the participants, and they get a certificate at the end of having that. I think that what we really are looking at is not enough of us, as we're growing so fast, and we're getting all these wonderful things like Ron and Janet are doing. There's a lot of potential here, and I think that more people need to have a voice and know what's going on and how it's actually working. And instead of complaining about something, it's okay to complain, but I think we need to know why we're complaining and what's going on. And as I told him, I didn't know really until last week that within zoning and planning and community development, you've got part of it underground and part of it above ground, instead of being all together. So there are different little things that we need to learn about and know as active and citizens in a town that has an amazing potential for growth, and particularly with all these things that you're doing and all the tax credit we can get. So I think that it's really important for us to support those. And this one is not obviously sponsored by HPC. It just happens to be something that I think is important.
Yeah, we applied for this rural zone program in 2017. Chris Pike applied for it, and we didn't get it that year, and this was our last year to actually apply. Our population is, as you can see on our form, it's 15,000. We were right there because if you go by Wikipedia, we're over the 15,000. If you go by the state's numbers, we're at 14,900 and something. So we just got in there.
Just made it.
This is the last year.
Yeah, this was it.
Round it up.
Yeah, we threw them everything in the kitchen sink. We had market studies done. We made 1 million maps and 1 million different documentation for blight in the downtown, which is a vital part of this whole thing. And they bought into it. So
I think it's great. And because I'm also a member of the Georgia Trust and everything, we just got an email today about the one coming up in, is it April, I think, in Augusta? Revitalization of tours that you can sign up for with hotel bills and everything else.
Oh.
I think it's important if we're able to at least one, two, or somebody go on some of these things, because the more that you see what's going on, and Augusta is our second oldest city in Georgia, and so to be able to see their homes and see what they're doing, I think adds to the richness of what we actually know. So there's a lot of stuff going on and a lot of grants we could apply for. And I think that between all of us here, or among all of us, and working with Ron, and Chris and all of them.
we've been looking, that's for sure. I mean, I got to tell you, we've probably applied for everything under the sun this year that we can possibly apply for. From historic preservation to beautification to everything. We've tried to look for any state, federal, private grants, even from private corporations and donors. Any and everything. So it's really tough because of our situation with our population. It's too low for the big grants, too high for the rural grants from the USDA. So we're stuck in between, and
That's
it's
all
just
right.
kind of how the cookie
At
crumbles.
least they know who we are, Ron.
Yeah.
I mean, and you've got the scholarship that you have at Colorado. You know, I had one of the 4 scholarships for the state conference. I mean, all of a sudden, people know that Villa Rica is a force to be reckoned with, and that we are really passionate about what we're doing. And, you know, like they say, you throw enough spaghetti on the wall, it's going to stick. And that's what we're doing.
I think
and
that's
it's
kind of what
working.
happened with this program. They know that we
Yeah.
applied last time in 2017. We didn't get that, and we're so close to getting out of it with population-wise, of getting out of the ability to apply. So we kind of made the right connections with the people who are reviewing the applications down there, did their whole training, their whole like, informational session, all of that. So I guess they kind of saw the vigor in our abilities or wanting to get this at least. So
Yeah.
So one more question regarding this symposium tomorrow night, Nancy, if you just refresh my memory on what time and where it will be?
Oh, it's at Powell Park from 5 to 7.
Thank you.
No, I'm sorry.
No, that's just what I wanted to make sure we got it in the record.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, yes. Anybody listening, please come.
Tell someone, bring someone.
Yeah. Well, apparently they've been working at it all day, right? Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay. Next on the agenda is suggestions for filling our
Thank you, Ron.
empty commission seat. And again, to refresh our memory, the reason that we held off is because the seat that was vacant is actually up in December. And rather than have somebody come in because we were going to be at conference in September, and then not having that much time, rather than have somebody try to reapply again, it was better to do it toward the end and then put that person into the new time slot. And I think, and maybe Ron, you can check on that as well. I mean, your reappointment was for 3 years,
Okay.
I believe.
I think so.
And mine, and yours was for 2, and yours was for,
I think I'm filling an unexpired term that ends in December.
okay. So what we need to make sure is that when you want to continue again, you need to let Ron know so that we can go ahead and do that. And then probably because we're on staggered terms, the new person coming in would be also on a staggered term, either 1 or 2 years. So if you were on 1, you would probably go to 2. And so the person coming in would probably be for 1, starting in January. Okay. I believe that would be the way it would go. So, do we have,
If I'm not mistaken. Yes.
We're voting you out, baby.
Probably wouldn't hurt to
and
check
it
us
may
all.
not be, it may not be in December because they're not all December. Some of them could be June, or it could be, I think they're staggered monthly too, not by the end of the year. I'd have to go back and look at our bylaws, which were changed when we added the new commissioner, and I know that Denise, when she was here, worked on that schedule, and then it was finally approved by the city council, so. Okay. All right. So, you had a chance to look at any of the applications for,
Mhm.
okay?
Does anyone want to have any discussion over any applicants?
I personally know Sarah. She's very dedicated to Villa Rica. She's the the Facebook post page for the Hart House. I think she took over that when I gave it up. I know she's been secretary, and I'm not sure of her position with the Villa Rica Area Historical Society at this point, but I know she was a founding member. Secretary, probably held a couple of offices over the past couple of years, and she's very dedicated, like I said, to Villa Rica.
Through, I know Renee's not here, but she shared some similar comments about Sarah.
And the other the other applicants, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with them. I read over their resume, and if you have any personal
From
thoughts on it.
What you wrote, she sounded pretty qualified.
Yeah, I would feel comfortable in making the motion that we recommend Sarah Pitts to the HPC Commission, the City Council.
Second motion?
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carried, okay. Ron, can you put forth her name for city council? I don't know if they'll vote on her next time, if it's too late to go on the agenda, or if it would be in December. I know they need to have, 2 weeks for their agenda?
They do, and they have enough time to get her on the next agenda. I would have to. I'm sorry, I have to look at my calendar here.
It would be so it would probably be the second meeting, the first meeting in December, which was the second
That's the
Tuesday.
only meeting I think in December,
Okay.
the 10th.
All right,
So she'll be on there. We have enough time.
so the second meeting in December,
Yep.
okay. And then she can be sworn in and started,
And start anew in January. Yes,
Yeah.
right. Mhm.
Okay.
Now, just so I'll know, is this done? It's done by wards, I believe, on this board as well, right? That you're appointed by your council person. Is that usually the way that it kind of works for each of the individual wards?
I'm not positive, but
we are
she's
not
nodding yes.
individual wards in here. Mostly, I mean, zoning and planning used to be individual wards, but isn't necessarily anymore. But I know how it happens to be. And they are usually appointed by the city, by the city council members. But HPC has not been, and it's not in our bylaws to do that. And at this point, that would make 2 of you in Shirley Marchman's ward. It puts 2 of you in Lisa's,
Leslie,
and Leslie.
and you're in
It just
Danny
came up
Carter.
today in conversation with the planning commission as far as, because they have some openings as well. So we've researched that, and there was some discussion as far as who's responsible really for having it fleshed out to all of the wards, all 5 wards. So that's something that's come up with them. So I know it's probably going to come up since we're doing it at the same time.
So we're fired, is that what you're
No,
saying?
you're not fired. No.
Yeah, up until now, what HPC has always done is to make a suggestion
Right.
and vote on it, and then take it to city council, and city council,
Yeah, it's just
Approves
there was just some
and does
dispute
that.
today over that. So
yeah.
We'll follow whatever the council decides.
It's a dispute about the HPC commission?
No.
not HPC specifically, but I'm sure that it's in the same boat as planning commission is when they're making these
At this
appointments.
point, because when they added an extra ward, we used to only have 4 wards, okay? Now we got 5.
Right.
And so you're looking at, actually, the only ward that would not have anything would be Mirror Lake, would be Markle's ward, because the rest of us all come, like, I'm from Danny, I'm the only one in Danny Carter's ward. You're in Matthew's ward, and is it, you and
Leslie.
Renee are in, and then you and Sarah would be in Shirley's. So we're represented with all of them, basically.
That's great. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good then.
Except for Michael's ward.
Because
Yeah.
planning commission was, of course, everyone's in Mirror Lake essentially, the whole commission. So they're trying to break. I
Disperse.
think they're trying to break that up a little bit.
Yeah,
Max?
Good
is there,
idea.
isn't he? No?
yeah,
He's in your,
yeah, but he's on zoning and planning,
okay.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is there any other business?
Yes.
Okay.
Something, this is new business, adding item C to new business. Villa Rica needs an identity. We're the city of gold. Okay, fine. Dahlonega has a better PR unit than we do. Dahlonega is known as the city of gold. Villa Rica is the original city of gold, but that's not an identity to spread out to the world to bring people into our downtown
Right.
area. We need an identity.
We need,
An identity. We need to be known for something. And I don't care what it is, but we need something. If you talk about Villa Rica, they say, where?
Yeah.
and yes, I can totally agree with you, which is why I have always said, we are VR, and then people stop at that.
Yeah.
And then they'll say, well, we are VR and Amazing Fine. But Amazing Fine with what? When you take a look at the fact that, yes, we had the first gold mine. Yes, we had the Freedom bus stopping here for gas on the way to Birmingham. Yes, We had Eisenhower before he was president coming through when they were bringing all of those things through.
Yes, we had
Yes, we have
Coca-Cola.
Thomas Dorsey. Yes, we happen to have so many other things that are there, but we don't have that. I've always even thought of as being a pioneer city, meaning both good and future, because we need it. But you're right.
We don't have an identity.
there's
We
no
need
identity.
to present to city council or to our individual council persons the idea that we need to grasp some type of city identity. I mean, seriously, a couple of years ago when they were doing the city thing, the city planning thing, and then they came up with the idea of the hotel and the museum and the conference center and all that great. I mean, they're great ideas, but this is Mayberry. This isn't the Jetsons. We need something to bring everybody together.
I think Villa Rica falls into the category of the hipster town, is what I think. I work all over the whole metro Atlanta
Really?
area, and it's really nothing more than the rest of the towns where they're reviving, revamping, same thing. They're taking old houses down and creating businesses and stuff. It's cool.
But it's not cool.
But it's not cool. It's like where at what point do you stop or start
Mm-hmm.
what you're talking about, and where do you see that?
This is something that we need to discuss with council and planning and zoning and
Right.
parks and everybody. This is something that needs to be citywide.
Now, see, that's something that could be discussed with a citizen academy or even at the symposium, where you have more people having a voice and saying something. I think that's important.
Kind of
Yeah.
like Carrollton has the wolves all over the place, and you kind of geocache and go around and
Yeah.
find them and take photos and
Well,
stuff.
that's the college.
That's the college.
That's the college town.
The
We're just
city
losing
of
people.
Cumming has big eggs that are all over the place. They're very colorfully painted, and you have to geocache and go around and find them. This coming week, I will be on vacation from my employment for all week. And I plan to visit the tiny town of Silva, North Carolina.
Oh, yes.
2,500 people, year-round population. There's a college close by, about the same distance as West Georgia. They regularly draw 50 and 60,000 people to their doorstep every time they hold a big event.
Absolutely. I was chair of leadership at that university.
I am
And
going
you would not
to
believe, you're
see
right,
this
it is.
place.
And at Christmas time, oh my gosh.
Beautiful Christmas village. I'll
They-
take lots of photos for you.
Yeah. I mean, it's, of course, they also have the train going through that area that was on The Fugitive. And so that's kind of another draw too, is a train that was filmed on that film.
Okay.
But at Christmas time, and we tried to do that last year, is to put the little bags out with all over that. We wanted last year Villa Rica to put candles in all the businesses and in all the homes along Main Street, so that when people came in, they had all these lights going up. But then it rained, and we couldn't do that.
We
But
could
that
do
was
the
one of the
electric,
things-
the little electric candles.
candles.
Yeah,
Those
yeah,
things.
and we thought that would be really cool. The other thing is that happens there is that all the shopkeepers will dress up in clothing that represents the area from where it was started from, and they'll have colors outside. They have apple cider, cookies, bakery goods, and you walk through the whole town for 2 weekends in a row, and you smell all these wonderful things, and you learn all about the history of this teeny tiny little place where people flock to it.
Gazillions of visitors.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Is
And
it
the
the history
university,
that's
the
drawing
university
them,
does
or-
not put it on, but
The
yeah.
history that's drawing them in, is that
I
one?
don't know a lot about the history as of yet. I went to
will.
Northeast Tennessee
Right.
back last month,
Yeah.
and as I was coming home, I was playing, oh, I wonder where this road goes. So I just randomly turned right
Ran
and
into it.
ended up in Silva, and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is
See,
a place I'm thinking about returning
That's kind
to.
of what I'm talking about, Villa Rica, that's what we are around the metro Atlanta. Every little small town in the metro Atlanta is what we are. And it's.
So we need an identity to make sure that we
we-
stand out in the front.
correct.
Well, we've grown, I mean, when I first came to West Georgia, and I said I wanted to live in Villa Rica, they were calling it Vili Riki. You don't want to live there. And yes, there was like less than 4,000 people in
Yeah,
there.
but now I think it's cool to be here. It's
But
like-
now everybody wants to move
Right.
here.
Like she talked about the wolves, that's kind of like an art project from the West Georgia College from like.
Why don't we get an
SCAD is
art
from-
project from the high school?
Right, like SCAD is to Savannah.
Yeah.
There is an art project coming, I know, with the fire hydrants. Are you guys familiar with that?
No.
The high
heard.
school is going to be painting the fire hydrants all downtown. I don't know if they have a specific style or specific
Color range.
color range or what, but they're supposed to be painting them all to
HPC standards?
beautific.
Yeah. And hopefully not all purple.
It seemed like
I got to give them a copy of the design
Isn't the
standards.
Well, the other good news is that after talking with Janet, we are in a production mode, actually, for making the magnets of Billerica, because we said there were none. Remember, we talked about that. I know you guys are new, but we talked about doing the magnets with art pictures on there, and so we're looking at the art council giving us maybe 3 or 4 or 5 ideas. Either we vote on a couple of them or we use all of them. And the idea is that then all the stores on Main Street can sell them. They can get maybe 10%. Whatever else comes to it will go into HPC to help pay for conferences and travel and that type of thing, which will give us money that will be deposited for us, but in Main Street, but for our use. And yet it doesn't cost us anything, and we don't have to worry about time with all of us having other jobs. So all we do is say, yeah, we like this particular picture, but if there are pictures of historic places or something about Billerica, then that helps us with identity.
And postcards would be good as well.
Hmm?
Postcards.
And postcards would help too, yeah. But Janet is in the process, she knew who would do the
millennials.
the-
What is that?
the magnets, so we're going for that, so that's good.
I'm throwing rocks
Okay,
at you.
I'm through with new ideas. Done.
That's
Great ideas.
a great idea. I
Wonderful.
don't think it's a good idea. I think it's a great idea.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
council really needs to think hard.
Well, I
And-
think here at HPC we do a lot of this
Yeah, we do.
and not a lot of this moving.
I think we're starting to.
I think we are. I think
mean-
we're on the right track, but I think I'd like to have, butts out of the seats kind of thing.
Off the record, to some extent, I know that we're so on, but remember that 2 years ago, we were lucky if we had a HPC meeting, because if
Okay.
there wasn't anybody bringing something up, they would just cancel it without any real notice. They're not going to have it tonight.
Right.
Until we went forth and said, hey, we are also educational. And it's not just that we have a meeting because we happen to have something here. And I think that's why our last month's meeting was so great, because we were all able to talk about what we learned at that conference and give that to people so they could see it and realize that, yeah, we do have a lot of things going for us. And I think the diversity of the commissioners gives us that ability to push forward. And then we've got, a gung-ho person who is able to write and do these things as well.
Right.
So we can help direct him,
Right.
and he directs us so that we've got a good give and take
Yeah,
back
Ron
and
does
forth.
an amazing job, but
Yeah.
us, I think this year we ought to focus on what, like she's talking about, like,
In that case, why
Changing.
don't we, as a commission, come up with a couple of ideas before we present this overall idea to the commission,
We can do that.
to council, excuse me, to give them a kind of a kickstart and suggest that we talk with
just
couple
for
of-
instance, and like you said, people dress up in the period era, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. I mean, that's cool too. Just little things like that for everybody to, just to walk around town and.
We should have a sock hop here.
We-
or
This is a sock hop
something to, like
type
what you're
town.
saying, like that is retro yet
Yes.
hip at the same time.
This is
We had a
Mayberry.
commissioner at one point, who happens to be on the cemetery commission as well, who wanted people to dress up in the cemeteries. Now, we've got 3 cemeteries that are historical sites.
Now we're getting more.
And,
okay.
and wanted
No,
people
cemeteries are cool.
doing something like that
Yeah,
and
they are.
doing it,
My wife loves them.
and, that's a possibility. I think our first priority right now, besides that,
Correct.
is to make sure that we can get our south side designated as a historical district. That's because what can happen is that anybody on the south side, without us being historical, correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, but they could come in and do whatever they wanted to do, and we had no jurisdiction over it.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's correct.
We have got to get that on the local registry. And remember, we learned that local takes precedence over national, so we need to make sure that the north side is also part of local registry as well, so that we have that, which will also help with what he's doing with the tax credits. But that's of utmost importance, because otherwise, nobody has to come to us to ask for permission to do anything.
And I still feel that we should pull the Hart House in.
Yeah, so that's our number one. And then the number two, as city council and others want us to do, is to expand our district and to get into Fullerville and those areas and get all that area declared as a historic district. Once we do that, then we have more choices of bringing people in too.
Same amount. I got pictures
Does
Well,
that make sense?
if
of it. Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I guess if we were to look at the big picture, let's paint the picture for a moment. We have the South Side Historic District that we would like to get started. There's the residential areas, right? There's about 4 or 5 different residential districts that we would like to see designated historic. I think that, and I guess from an outsider's point of view, I've been with the town now for about 9 or so months, and from an outsider's point of view and working with other HPCs and historic communities and like, there is a culture that can be created like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, yeah.
Just from historic preservation alone.
Right.
And I've seen it through house tours. I've seen it through, it connects neighbors together when they otherwise may not have even talked to each other. They have something in common, which they own a historic house, or they, just like historic houses, they may not even own one or be in a historic district. But once districts start to have their own neighborhood associations as well, I think that the influence from the Historic Preservation Commission becomes
grows.
bigger and bigger. It just keeps
Yeah.
growing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
May I
Like the
ask,
cemetery that we all saw at the conference, where the one had the historic cemetery, and the other, and here you had a historic black cemetery that
One
was
that growed
so
up.
important and so historical, and no one paid any attention to it until another group of people came together and they worked together,
Yeah.
and it became
It
this
was
whole
basically a
big city
forest.
thing. It was awesome. It was
This
awesome.
town has great history. I mean, pioneer history is
Yeah.
so interesting, you know. It's kind of has a Wild Wild West feel to
Yeah.
Villa Rica, and I feel like that should be capitalized on.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is just an outsider's perspective. You guys have lived here, if not your whole lives, then most of your lives. And
And see, you
it's
said
something
pioneer,
special.
and that the word pioneer to me is important, because I mean, we've got the Indians in here, we've got, so many of the things that were going on here that made us be this pioneer city. Why are we a pioneer? Look at all the things that we have. This is
Well, that
really a
Wild
good
Wild
thing.
West kind of feel of the downtown and look, that was my first impression when I first came to Villa Rica. Well, not when I first came, but when I first came back from New Jersey, and it just felt like this old Wild Wild West town. But it was cool. It was a cool feeling, and I feel like
Right.
if that was to be capitalized on, I feel like a lot of millennials and stuff would be really interested in that, not just for a day trip or stopping off the highway, but to actually live here in the future.
Can you imagine? I know that Wick's Tavern has been moved, and I know that we have designated it, and I know that right now the city is thinking about possibly buying that. And I know there's some controversy over it because of other organizations that had control over it for a while. However, when you take a look at the history and you read the history of Wick's Tavern, that was where all the miners came to have, because
Spend their money.
yeah, they all drank up and had a good time at Wick's Tavern, because that was the only tavern off of the railroad when they were all working at the mine. So that's a neat thing when you think about it. Could you imagine people dressing up as Wild Western people at Wick's
I see where your
Tavern?
head's at. Let's go get hammered drunk.
Yeah.
And of
Well,
course,
if the town is not constantly changing,
and we were a
then it's
dry town
stagnant.
until what,
And
5 years ago?
You don't want stagnant, but you want to be able to have control
Correct.
over your growth, though,
Correct.
and how
That's-
it's
Yeah.
growing.
And that's kind of what I was saying earlier, instead of us being a truck stop, like Ron said, take a left turn and you come up here and go, wow,
That's right.
versus,
Exactly.
letting our town go to the first person that's going to spend a buck.
Well, the thing is, although the college is in Carrollton,
Yeah.
they
Although, but
can't
I'm
get
a-
to Carrollton without coming through Billerica
Right.
first. And so when they get off of I-20,
Cause there was Bankhead on.
they need to
that.
have that whole big thing that says, whoa, here we are, not just a bunch of stores.
Right.
And, yeah, that's a big thing for us, because if they're gonna go to a graduation or something that's happening at the college, I would like for them to say, we need to come back here. And I still think that what we saw in Rome with the golf carts was a neat thing, and I've talked to people about that as well. When we have events here, those golf carts that provide people to go to different places without having to pay or park their car someplace.
Another
awesome.
idea like what she was going off of, and we went to Paris, every Saturday and Sunday, they have a city market that people bring their stuff in a table. It's like a yard sale, but it's a lot that you can sell your stuff, antiques, private stuff. I think they do it once a month.
Yeah,
Things like that are kind of cool to bring in the younger.
As long as it's not junk and it's cute
Yes,
stuff.
and that's the way it was.
like in Carrollton where they have that
Yeah.
kind of,
It was like kind of like a I want to say a fruit market, but with with their own stuff, and
Well-
I think it was very clean.
Yeah, well, two things there. Some sort of Main Street sidewalk sale type of thing would
Right.
be really cool. But a farmer's market that's like regularly held on a Sunday morning or something like that, or a Sunday afternoon when people let out of houses of worship, would be huge just to draw people from the surrounding areas that are not in Villarica as well if it was
Correct.
successful. So.
I'm sorry, I just thought of one other thing. This
Sure,
meeting
sure.
is going to go way long tonight. So I recently had to spend a couple of days attending to family business in Cumming and Marietta. And I don't know if anybody has seen it. It's not been open very long. It's the Marietta Marketplace. It was a warehouse. It's not tremendous, but it was packed. And I was talking to people, and they say it's packed every night and every weekend. So it was a warehouse, probably the size of the Avante building, and there were little tiny 6-foot wide boutiques mixed in with food service. There were 2 decent sized sit down restaurant kind of things. They were slammed the entire time I was there.
Right. That's kind of what I'm getting at, is something different like that.
Something like that, I
Yeah.
think, that's kind of inside, so it could be year round.
They do that at Venice Beach
something
too.
like Ben's in Douglasville. I mean, I know that's an antique store, but I
Uh,
mean, but you're talking about the different booths
Kind
type
of.
idea in there.
But it was
That one
very
building.
upscale.
Yeah, very upscale.
Very, very nice. Lots
Yeah.
of people, lots of places to sit and talk, and you can
It's a
take
way to bring in other people.
pizza from here,
yeah.
and you can go to Italian or Mexican. I mean, people were just going everywhere with all their food. Just lots of places to sit down, mostly booth type, but there were a couple of restaurants.
And-
If you get over to Marietta, it's worth spending $5 to walk in there and
Right.
check it out.
Yeah.
One of the
Just off the
one of the
square.
sections that we saw too was an antique market section where they brought in their own stuff, and it's kind of but it wasn't like truckloads. It was something that would fit in the back of your car, and they just had it displayed on the
Pop
table.
up style.
Yeah, and it's like a little pop-up shops. But to me, it was kind of cool. We walked the entire length of it because, I mean, it brought me in, sucked me in real quick.
Have you ever walked to the New Orleans market?
Yeah. That's the
It's
French
the
market.
same kind of thing,
Yeah, it's kind of like that,
but that's open air and
Yeah.
a little bit bigger.
And Dillard's no,
they
not
got one in
not Dillard's.
Charleston, too.
I'm talking about Dillard's, North Carolina.
yeah, Charleston's got one like that too.
Yeah, yeah,
But not kind of like that, but something similar.
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
throwing ideas out there.
I definitely read and I'll leave you guys with this. I read an article last night, and forgive me, I don't remember the town's name. Unfortunately, I had one eye open, and it reminded me so much of Villarica. It was not in Georgia, but they had pressures of sprawl coming out from this core central principal city in the region, and they had some sprawl developments going on around them, kind of like Villarica has now. But they decided they wanted a walkable community. They wanted something that had the historic integrity that they were looking for, and so they decided to continue their street grid instead and start connecting the streets that were otherwise disconnected. And Villarica is just like that. It has a street grid in the core,
Yeah.
but it's so disconnected from other sides of the tract, or just even the same sides of the tract, the street will just end.
That's right.
And I think if it was just connected and there was more of a influence on walkability or and bikeability and just getting around town, it can help improve the circulation around town. It can help improve just in general how desirable an area generally is. So,
See, and I think that's why tomorrow's meeting is important, because, yeah, I was on the steering committee for downtown development, and we had all these wonderful drawings about what was going to happen and how they would merge south side and north side together and everything. Yes, it takes money, and yes, infrastructure is part of it. But these are questions that could be asked of those people. Where are they at this point? Because this, tomorrow night is focusing on community development, not just planning and zoning, but community development as a whole. These would be questions that I would hope that
Which
those
I'm-
in attendance
I'm all
would
for, like you
ask
said, for
to
community
find out where
development.
we are and where are they going with that,
Yeah.
and how far are they? Has it been abandoned even though it had been approved by city council? What are some of these things that are going on? Because the drawings that were done were awesome. And I know now that we've got a new person coming in to kind of redo or look at that, but not everybody knows that, because if they haven't come to city council, or they don't know that this is a guy who's been hired to take a look at this and do it, these are questions that could be asked and you'd get answers for them, and I think that that's important.
I think getting to know the new zoning code intricately is important. There's a lot of changes, of course, in there. There's things that are being regulated that were never regulated before, things that are not being regulated anymore.
Right.
Airbnbs, for example, that's being regulated. A lot of communities are going through the same issue with them right now, so they don't know what to do with them. They're not collecting hotel motel tax on them. They're nuisances sometimes to neighborhoods, things like that. So we have to actually sit down and think about all those things. There's newer technologies and new uses that you would never have imagined 10 years ago that are out there now, and they have to be either addressed. Either we're going to address them first, or they're going to address us.
That's right.
So.
Yep. Important.
Good stuff.
Yep.
Thank you all. I think we've had a great discussion, and that's what we should be doing.
Right.
Because this is the way we can actually talk because we are in a public place where we do have people there.
Yeah.
And that gives us a chance to actually say it, and that's good.
Like Kim said, I think we keep coming up with these ideas, but when we get one,
And
let's act on it.
They
you know?
they need to be carried out. And we've had great ideas over the time. But again, just like city council or anything else, when you have people going off of a council and other people coming in,
Right,
I mean, since I've been here, Kim is the only constant.
right.
Because we have changed people who have left or have not been on there. And so
I'm here until something happens.
we want to do these things.
I know I'm walking a line. So.
No, we need to make sure that we can carry them out. And we've had great ideas.
Right.
But it takes us pushing people like Ron and Janet and Tom and everybody else and say, hey, we talked about this, we voted on it, you said yes, you liked the idea,
Let's roll.
move it.
Right.
It's even the drone thing. How long have we been on the drones? When
Well, I think you
we've
said
got a mayor
somebody else
saying,
had it, so I
yes,
stopped.
and the mayor says, I'm not going to charge you, I'm going to do it. And I,
Did he do it though?
not yet, but
See,
We've gotta get these
I'd have
done.
already had it done.
we got to get them done.
See,
Jeff, if you're watching, I'm sorry, but we need to get it done now.
I'd already had
No
it done,
comment,
Jeff.
Mayor.
Jeff, I'd have had it done.
Yes. Okay. Anything else? Motion to
Ron,
adjourn?
you need to borrow my drone. That's what it is. I give it to Ron.
Motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay.